we ask questions that are difficult to answer. And therefore, this is why sorting questions are so important in order to open up the conversation. Like, if
you can't keep saying the same phrase over and over again to transition. So once you've used that once, you can't use it again until like the middle to the end of your presentation, because it's like, it's a sales tactic and the prospect's not stupid.
So having different like transition words, but the principle of a solid first part of a live transfer call, or you need to understand these three things: sorting questions, permission questions, and digging deep. Really, at the end of the day, phase one of the call, before you ask for the meeting, you need to understand who the prospect is. You need to understand their wants, their needs.
The reason why we ask questions, you guys, prospect needs to know that this conversation is going to be about them. You need to build trust. We are live. Welcome back. Hey, this week, Cody and I have put something together. Well, Cody put something together really special. Cody's really good at putting the things together. I'm really good at talking about things. So kind of works out well for us. So as Cody's bringing up our frameworks that we've been working on with each other and with Sharon and our coaches, we've been really studying human psychology for the last years, but really studying human psychology in the real estate space and how we can grab motivation out of the prospect so that the prospect will at least be open to sitting down with you. What we're finding right now, and Cody could attest once he gets going here, is that when the agent is capable of sitting down with a buyer or a seller, right, the hard part's already done because you've already handled a lot of their concerns about the market shifting, interest rates being high. So if we can have a great conversation on the phone, and don't get me wrong, they're going to have those concerns no matter what. Like, it's just when you sit down with them and they're actually thinking, okay, we're going to go out and look at homes, or we're going to sell our home, they're going to still have the concern around interest rates. They're going to have the concern around the market. They're going to have the concern about pricing. But when we learn how to use human psychology with us instead of against us, it's kind of like jiu-jitsu, right? If any of you guys know jiu-jitsu, now don't get me wrong here. I am not a professional. I've done it once.
You're not?
No, I did it one time, and this is actually why I've been working with the new trainer, is because there's a few things that I really want to do that my hip tightness and my hip flexors and like my psoases and my knees wouldn't allow me to do. Jiu-jitsu is one of them, and actually salsa dancing is another. So remember, we went out salsa one night and my knees were just killing me the next day. So that's why I hired a new trainer. But one of the challenges that we're finding is that if the agent can't get the buyer or the seller to overcome their own fears by the media, by their friends, by, interest rates, or the world's coming to an end, if they can't get over that, you're never going to get in front of them. Yeah. If we can just balance that out and get you in front of more people, then we can figure out how do we close deals and sales and make them want to use you. So Cody's going to bring up his framework, which is the same basic philosophy that I teach inside the Real Estate Sales Academy. He's kind of languaged it his own way, but it's the luôn human psychology. And I'll just give a couple of frameworks, Cody, while you're pulling your stuff up. So when you guys are out there, right, and you have a buyer, right, that gives you the interest rate concern, just so you know, that's not because that's a top of your script problem. It's not a bottom of the script. Right. A lot of agents think that the interest rate, the market, these are things that we pre-handle inside of asking great questions. But let's say, you're using a basic script, right? One of the free scripts you got online, and you're just using one of these basic scripts, and it doesn't ask like human psychology questions. And you get down to the bottom and they hit you with, hey, we're going to wait. We're not in a rush. We're going to see what happens with interest rates. And first thing is like, what does that even mean? Okay, so there's a couple of tips that I want you guys to write down. When you get an objection, nobody says you have to talk fast. Expect an objection and expect them to ask the questions, and just stay cool, calm, and collected, all right? Like, if you can stay cool, calm, and collected by practicing these with us, right, inside the Real Estate Sales Dojo, practicing things with your other agents in your office, practicing with the mirror. If you can practice somebody saying, hey, we're going to wait because of interest rates. Hey, thank you for all the information. We're going to wait because of it. If you can get accustomed to not feeling the tenseness and the emotions and the anxiety, you're going to do better. Let's just role play this, Cody. So you hit me with like, hey, thanks, we're not in a rush to meet because we're just waiting for interest rates to come down.
So you want me to be the realtor?
I want you to be the prospect.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for interest rates to come down. I just kind of been browsing in the market right now.
And Cody, that's not a problem. So if you guys noticed, because I was verbal cueing, I was really easily able to cut Cody off. Cody, when I cut you off, did you feel like I was being rude, or because did it feel kind of natural, like we're having a regular conversation? So you guys, when you learn how to use verbal cues, which we teach inside the Real Estate Sales Academy, this is how you can cut people off so they don't just start waffling and talking about a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, Cody, that's not a problem. I guess I was just so that I know, like, where exactly do interest rates need to be at in order for you guys to be comfortable looking at homes again?
Yeah. So I think the important element of what Vikram is doing, and I did a training last week with a team, something that I did wanted to point out that you did really well, where it's like, where do you want interest rates to be?
Yeah.
Understand where I see a lot of agents fail when it comes to live transfers, comes to booked appointments, comes to calling, is they don't understand the context for which the people are watching the market. So, and I said this the other day, because somebody asked this large team I did a training with, they asked like, well, how do we overcome the interest rate conversations? Like, well, you have to understand how they're tracking the market. Like, where are they getting their information? Are they getting their information from Fox, from CNN? Like, where are they? Because
their parents. It could be polarizing
views. You're gonna get polarizing views depending on what's.
It could be their parents. It could be social media. Like, you don't know what high interest rates actually mean to them.
Yeah. There's no context to the question. There's no context to the statements that they're making. If you don't understand the context, it's very difficult for you to give an informed and an intelligent decision, which we're going to talk about today. Can you give me an opportunity to?
Yeah. Let me add it to the stream. Okay. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. We're using StreamYard, you guys, and like. When I see technology work, even though I'm Indian and I'm supposed to be like your tech expert and fix your toasters and your cell phone by plugging them in, turning them off and turning them back on, this is pretty effing cool, Cody.
I feel very special today.
Dude, can you hear my sound?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you hear the stream deck?
Sort of. Yeah. I hear it a little. It's not coming through, but
okay. Well, let's jump into this because
so I did a training last week with a really large team, and we went through this framework because I built this specifically for them, because I'm like, there's different elements to a live transfer call. So for the people that don't know what a live transfer call is it's getting connected live with a buyer or seller. What are the 3 phases you need to go through in order to set the in-person meeting? Vikram, it has other expired scripts. And I know that you're doing a bunch with your clients around door knocking and cold calling and different scripts, but there's a fundamental understanding that I like from listening to live transfers and listening to people trigger sales resistance. These are just the stats, like listening to, hundreds of live transfers, 40 to 70% of live transfers we send to our clients are going to in-person meeting if they just follow this framework. And like, I know this is stuff you talk a lot about in the real estate sales dojo around chunk up, chunk down. Like that's you have different wording for it, but chunk up, chunk down is really sorting questions, curiosity, and digging deep. This is like where like a lot, I hear consistently agents like, well, I followed the script. No, you didn't follow the script because you don't know anything about the prospect. Like you don't.
Well, here's the thing: if you don't understand, why you're saying what you're saying, so like a lot of agents might actually follow the script, but what happens is there ever been a sales call in the history of sales call, like maybe 10% of sales calls, right? But has there ever been outside of the 10% of laydowns that are going to say yes to anybody? So don't feel special, y'all, that they said yes to you. If there ever a call that's gone perfectly the way you wanted it to go?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Like let's say you take 10 calls. One goes exactly the way you're like, oh my God, that was the easiest call ever.
Yeah.
Right. They said exactly. It was like you tell your dog to sit, the dog sits, it doesn't move for 4 hours. And you're like, oh my God, I'm God.
We chat about this, and every once in a while, me and Aldo will have a conversation. He's like, bro, they just said everything that was such an easy sale. And I'm like, he's like, that happens once every like 4 months.
Yeah.
Once every 4 months, you get the conversation with somebody where it's like, wow, that was easy. But generally, there's objections, there's questions, there's misunderstandings, there's sales resistance.
Well, people are people, so they're going to go left and right. So when you learn and understand human psychology, which it takes time to understand, and you're willing to commit to yourself, like if you're tired of being average, if you're tired of doing like 3 deals a quarter, or 3 deals like every 6 months, so you're closing like a half a deal a month. If you understand,
you're being real nice, bro. You're being real nice about like these results, because I don't know who you're speaking with, but
we're honing in our avatar a lot more.
Totally.
We're getting people that actually do a couple of deals. But if you don't understand,
there are like everyone we interview on the Origin podcast, they're crushing it. Like I don't think we've had anyone on the Origin podcast, which like we're going to be recording today. I don't think we have anyone on the Origin podcast that isn't doing like 30, 40, 100 plus deals a year. Like everyone's doing a serious volume.
I mean, I was looking at my stats just because, you keep telling me I need to share my stats. And I was like, okay, we did a lot of business, right? Like, and I'm not saying that to brag. It's just a fact. Like we did a lot of business. We never struggled in real estate. But we also understood like human psychology. Like I'll give an example. My dad in high school, I don't even think you know this. In high school, I rolled my dad's 7 Series my senior year. So December, my senior year, I rolled my dad's 7 Series off a freeway. Well, I'm going away to college. My brother and I shared a truck, and I took the truck to Santa Barbara. Well, in Santa Barbara, big trucks aren't good. So after about 9 months of having the truck there, I come back and I was like, yo, Pops. And I was into like import cars. I was like, yo, Pops, can we figure out this whole car situation? Because having a truck's not good. And, like I didn't want to buy my own car, dude. My dad's rich. So like, why would I want to go buy my own piece of shit car? Like when I know how to sell my father on buying me a car. So I go into the dealership and we're looking at Hondas and Acuras, right? 18 years old. And I was like, Dad, Acuras are safer. He's like, oh yeah, that's true. We've had an Acura. Right. So like I knew how to play his cards because I knew what mattered to him because he was concerned about my safety. Now I wanted what's called a GSR model. This is like the VTEC engine, Cody, 180 horsepower back in the day, stick shift, leather seats, the whole shebang. Right.
That's dirty.
And what do you think the sales guy's trying to sell on? What do you think an average 22-year-old sales guy sees a young kid come in with a successful father? What do you think he's trying to sell my dad on the car?
Oh, he's trying to sell the best, he's trying to sell, like, I actually, I don't know how to answer that question. Like,
well, think about it. Like if you were, like you're selling the high performance model of a car, what do you think this guy's trying to sell my dad on the features of?
The warranty.
Mr. Shimmy, you need to deliver one warranty. This is Honda product, never going to break. No, the guy's selling my dad, oh, it's got the VTEC motor. It's got the special transmission. It's got this and it's got that. And my dad's like, my dad looks at me. He's like, I don't want a fast car for my son. And I looked at the dude. I was like, bro, I told you what to say. Yeah. I told you, I don't need you in I was like, I don't need you in this car to do a sales pitch. I already know my father. I know my avatar. What is he concerned about? Safety. Why should we buy this car? This is the safest of the lineup. For my dad, $4,000 wasn't a big deal, right? For me, $4,000 was a lot. I was 18 years old. But for my dad, $4,000 or $5,000 is nothing, right? And I was like, bro, you got to help me sell this car to my dad because he didn't understand human psychology. He was selling the features of the car. I was selling my dad on the benefits of having a safe car for his son that just rolled a car off the freeway.
Yeah.
Comes back to knowing what to say to people.
Well, that's like, if you come back to this framework, so phase 1 of this framework is really what we call chunk up, chunk down. So as I was chatting with, like, I love your explanation of understanding your avatar and understanding who you're speaking to, because it's very difficult to even go into the game plan frame or even ask for the meeting. And we were ranting about this last night where I'm like, your meeting has no context. Your meeting has a real no context if you know nothing about the prospect. Like if you get on the phone and like you don't understand, like in the script that we give all of our clients, I tell them, I'm like, you need to understand where they work, where they live, you need to understand, do they have other people in the family that are, making a buying decision? What is the family dynamic? Like all these things matter because when you go to ask for the meeting, you're able to overcome the objection to book the meeting. So like phase one of, and I was explaining this to this team the other day because I was listening to some of their calls because the team lead asked me to listen to the call, like where's the bottleneck? Well, the bottleneck is you know nothing about the prospect. And there's one or two reasons why that happens, Vic. There's one to two reasons. Number one, they don't know what to say, or number two, they actually don't give a shit.
I don't think it's number two.
I think sometimes it's number two. I think I've spoken to enough agents who are like, we want the now leads. We want the now leads.
Yeah, but I don't think so I'm going to push back on it, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter whether you care or you don't care. It doesn't really matter. You still need the skills of what to say. But I think a lot of agents right now, Cody, are really burned out because the market's hard. And
Market is hard.
they're like I talked to an agent who she's on a team. She's done one deal in the last year. She doesn't know the median sales price of her market. And I was like, well, that's your team leader stuff. Like, what's your, and she's like, well, I know they talk about stuff. And I'm like, it's the responsibility of the leader to make sure that the ducks are in line. And if your leader doesn't even like grill you on, do you know this stuff? And she was tired. She was exhausted and she comes across as she doesn't care, but I don't think it's that she doesn't care. I think she doesn't know. She's so overwhelmed. Right. And like,
there's a lot to the business. There's a lot to running any business and any field in any sector. There's a lot that goes into it. Like I literally prior to hopping on this call, I was fixing a Zap, like we're like for a sales order. Yeah. I mean, like, it's like,
we're not Zap experts.
Like here's the thing. So in this 3-part phase of understanding the client, there's different trigger points that I've found that allow us to reduce sales resistance. I know you talk a lot about this in the sales dojo, but when I explain to them, I'm like, we ask questions that are difficult to answer. And therefore, this is why sorting questions are so important in order to open up the conversation. Like, if you don't mind me asking, Vic, like, in a perfect world, would you prefer to see houses or would you prefer to see condos?
Oh, houses for sure. Yeah, we're a big family, Cody. We need houses.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, Vic, like when you say that you're a big family, how many people are in your family? Like, do you have kids? Like what does your family dynamic look like?
And there's other ways to even ask these questions without even asking them directly. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you're going to you can't keep saying the same phrase over and over again to transition. So Cody used like, hey, if you don't mind me asking. So once you've used that once, you can't use it again until like the middle to the end of your presentation because it's like, it's a sales tactic and the prospect's not stupid. And so I just wanted to point that out because some trigger might not know.
And there are different triggers. Like, I might say something like when I'm talking to somebody, I might say, hey, like, I'm really curious, Vic, when you say this, what do you like, are you looking for this? Or are you looking for this? So having different like transition words, and that's something that Vic can work with you inside the real estate sales dojo. But the principle of a solid first part of a live transfer call, or the first part of like, say for example, your admin is setting calls for you or setting appointments, is you need to understand these 3 things: sorting questions, permission questions, and digging deep. Like you need to understand, like really at the end of the day, phase 1 of the call, before you ask for the meeting, you need to understand who the prospect is. You need to understand their wants, their needs, like think about even when we got on a call, Vic, like with like a realtor, that's one of the first elements that we talk about is like, what is important to you? Like why did you even hop on this call? Like you need to clarify why they're on the phone.
So the first part of the conversation is you need to build trust, right? So the reason why we ask questions, you guys, like I just want to give the psychology behind it, Cody. The reason why we're asking these questions up front about them. Okay, so here, remove this from your vocabulary. Hey, I'm just calling to follow up. Hey, I'm just calling to check in. Hey, I'm just get rid of those things. How are you doing? Right? Get rid of how you doing. I don't know very many people that love it when a random salesperson, which we get 5 to 8 calls, 10 calls a day, says, hey, Cody, how you doing today? What do you want? I don't know you. Like, I have no relationship with you. Like, you're not my best friend. Like, when I talk to Cody, I'm like, yo, bro, tell me what's up. Tell me what's good. Like, how's life? How's dating? Yeah. How's the world? How's business? Right? I ask a very specific question. I don't just give them like, hey, how you doing, bro? I'm like, Cody, what's up, man? How you doing with this? Because we have a friendship. The first part of the conversation is the prospect needs to know that this conversation is going to be about them. So get rid of the how you doing, get rid of my company sells so many houses, get rid of the, filler crap that you've been taught that doesn't work. Hey, how was your weekend? It's Monday. Happy Monday. That's all tactics that the prospect has been trained on. So one of my clients inside the Real Estate Sales Academy, and you know him, we met him in Santa Monica, super good dude. He put $3 million in escrow last week. He's got 2 deals that are pending right now. He's got another listing coming on next week. He's going to do $350,000 to $400,000 in GCI. He's not a scrub. All right. He wanted to use the script that his team lead gave him. And I have the call. He sent me the call. The first thing that I heard when the lady said hello, she's like, hello. And she was super aggressive. I was like, oh, this is going to be a great meme call. I'm like, I got to press pause. I got to put it in my earphones. Like, this would be a great call. And then I heard his voice and he used the same script that he was taught by his broker. And dude, the woman on the other end, it's a few month old expired. The woman on the other end knew exactly what he was going to say. She knew verbatim. She's like, oh, I could represent you. Let me tell you your script. And bah, 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 bah. And I was like, oh,
this guy, he got owned.
And the problem is that the first question he asked was, hey, the first statement was like, hey, I'm just a real estate agent here in Long Beach, and I see your home is no longer on the MLS.
No shit, Sherlock.
And he tried to do a sorting question, right? He tried to do a sorting question, which was like, did you guys decide to sell the home or did you guys decide to keep it? And she's like, just freaking rocked him, unfortunately. And then when I showed him our expired script, I was like, hey, bro, when you call an expired, you're going to be like, hey, Susan. And she's going to be like, yeah. Hey, it's just Vikram, Deol. And I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. And now we've got a little bit of what in there? A little bit of curiosity. And if you say it with the right tone and the right cadence, it's going to spark the curiosity back on the prospect. And then the second line, which is one that is challenging for agents, like, well, I don't even know if you could even if you could help me yet. And they're like, yeah, why would you say that? It lowers resistance, y'all. And you don't know if they can help you. What if they're going to keep the house? What if they're in the middle of a renovation? Stop assuming that you know what they say. When they say their house is small, right? Why is it small? Well, it's small because we have 5 kids in the house. Now you know that there's 5 kids. Oh, anybody else?
You got to ask the question. And I think the important element here is if we can kind of move forward. Yeah. Because I know we have to wrap up here in a few minutes. It's the game plan frame. I know you teach this, and I know we teach our agents this portion of the script, but you can't ask this question. There's 2 things I see agents make mistakes with, and I was coaching them on this the other day. The first is obviously not asking good enough questions prior to asking the game plan frame. But the second element to this specific game plan frame is if you don't ask the question, has anyone taken the time to walk you through the 3 most important principles that you need to consider in order to win in the market when you're ready to buy or sell? Where I see a lot of agents make the mistake with the game plan frame is they go right to, why don't we set up a meeting for coffee and we'll take a look at some homes together.
Right. You highlight where they go to, Cody. I don't have control of your screen, but highlight what they say.
They go right here.
Yep.
But they don't even say,
why don't we together for a quick cup of coffee, and before the coffee gets cold, we can create a game plan around the 3.
No. They don't even say that, bro. Because I know because they're winging it. And why, I hear this a lot. Why don't we set up a time for me in person, and I'll bring my laptop and we'll take a look at homes together. And it's like,
shut the fuck up.
Well, why would I do that? Why would I sit down? I can look at homes here in my home. Yeah.
Comfortably, without any pressure from a salesperson.
Yeah, that immediately triggers sales resistance because you're like, oh, we're going to look at homes together. It's like, no, yeah. That's the whole reason we asked the question. Has anyone done this for you? Has anyone taken the time to talk to you about the top 3 things you need to consider in order to win in the market when you're ready to buy? Or a lot of people, some people.
So let's break this down, Cody. Let's break this down line by line. And I think we're going to have to end on this. I don't think we're going to be able to get to the other one. So we'll have to do a live next week with it. Yeah. Okay, this is basic right here. Okay. Inside the Real Estate Sales Dojo, we go super deep word by word, why you say it. But let's just go real quick line. has anyone taken the time to walk you through the 3 most important things you need to consider in this market when you're ready to buy, right? Why do we ask that question? Like, what's one of the reasons we ask that question, Cody?
Because we want to get them to respond with a no. And the reason, because 99% of agents aren't doing this. So it's like, when we talk about unique selling propositions, this is a unique selling proposition. Hey, like, even if you're like, hey, even if your agent, for example, I've heard you say this in the dojo before, and I've heard you say this to me, it's like, even like, say for example, like, oh, my cousin's a realtor. Amazing. Just out of curiosity, has he sat down with you and talked to you about the top 3 things you need to consider in order to win in the market when you're ready to buy?
No.
Well, no, of course not. Okay. Like,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And that's like, when we talk about script, like this script creates a unique selling position for you. Mm-hmm. It's like, then when you get the in-person meeting, then you have the opportunity to talk about your method and how you win in the market when you're ready to buy.
And if your method is only, I have the best service and my company's done X amount of billions and trillions of dollars, you're not unique, because first off, no salesperson has ever said that their process is number 2, right? No salesperson has ever said that they don't know what they're doing. No salesperson has ever said that they're not the best. So you guys are all saying the same thing. Like, just like in Kuval's call, everybody who's called her has said the same exact thing, which is why she knew immediately, oh, I'm going to be triggered by this person.
And the beautiful thing about this framework, guys, the beautiful thing about the game plan frame is 95% of you won't use it.
We use this exclusively.
But that's what I'm saying. 95% of you won't use it to its completion, and you won't use the 3 phases. And if you go to SheridanStreet.io/more-income, you can get a full training on this as well. But like, when you say, like, because I think what happens a lot of times is like, well, if I use this, everyone's going to use it. But like 95% of people aren't going to use this script. And I'm telling you, it works.
You guys already have scripts that are better than what you're saying that you're not using. So you don't have to worry about the whole world using it, because like 98% are just, and if you guys try using it, you're not going to understand it, because you're going to be like, oh, this is great, this makes sense. But then you're not going to actually utilize it because you don't understand it. So the first thing we're doing is, has anybody taken the time to walk you through? We're letting them know that there is another process that can be taken. We're also letting them know that we are going to give them information, so that clicks in the law of reciprocity. When we ask for something, they're going to say yes, because we're giving them value now. And you guys, buying a property is actually super complicated. If you do a great buyer's presentation, there's no reason why the first day you go out with somebody, they buy a home. So here's what people don't realize. Like, well, I only want now buyers. Well, you have to do a buyer's consultation to make them a now buyer. And so you spend an hour or 2 hours with these people in person. You get to know all their needs, all their wants, all their desires. You figure out where they want to be, what they want. You've built a massive amount of trust. And then when you go out and show homes, we were writing offers, Cody, the first day we met these people. We meet them on a Thursday. We're out on a Saturday. And these are people that are like, we're 6 months out. We're 9 months out. You guys, you want now buyers. This is how you find them. You have to sit down. The now buyers are sitting in your database. It's just a matter of whether you're going to take them or somebody else is going to take them. It really is, at the end of the day. I see it happen day in and day out. It's like, it's like, well, I met with this person 6 months, but they ended up buying. Of course, that you chatted with them 6 months ago and you followed up once a month with your monthly newsletter. And you had a horrible follow-up call, and you had a horrible initial call, which they didn't really want to talk to you anyways.
So, there's an element. So one of the big things is like, kind of closing out here is like,
well, let's just finish up the second paragraph real quick.
Yeah.
Why don't we meet, right? So why don't we set up a time to meet in person for a cup of coffee? And before the coffee gets cold, right? Before the coffee gets cold, tells them that this isn't going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So in their mind, they're like, oh, coffee, 15, 20 minutes, we'll be in and out. Now, if they decide to ask you a bunch of questions and sit there for 2 hours, that's on them. But they're in their mind, like, okay, this is a quick 15, 20 minute meeting. No problem.
Yeah.
Around the 3 most important things. So now they're like, okay, they're going to cover 3 things. So that's going to be quick. So it's incongruency. It's an alignment.
Yeah.
Where you can make an informed and intelligent decision when you're ready to buy. The reason why you say when is because it lowers pressure, because we're saying, hey, we don't know what your time frame is. So would mornings or afternoons work better for you? Or would afternoons or weekends work better for you? Now we're giving them an option to tell us what day and time they want to meet. Afternoons are typically better. Great. So do you got some time tomorrow? I have a 3, or I have some time on blank at 5. You reduce the friction by asking questions
Yeah, that's the other thing that you need to sort them at the end as well. So that's the other thing that I see where it's like, hey, we can meet for coffee and yeah, well, and then, but you're not giving them an option at the end. It's like, where mornings, afternoons work better. Like you have to go back to sorting questions in the game plan frame.
Yeah, and what agents also miss, and I've heard it before, I've heard it with my clients when we first start working together, they'll say, and what are the three most, and a game plan around the three most important things to ensure that, like, when you buy a home with me next week, and I'm like, why did you say that? They're like, or when you buy a home with us, and I'm like, why'd you? They're like, well, we want to seed like us in the program, and I'm like, that's because that's the scarcity mindset that you've been taught by your broker, right? Everybody's like, oh, our broker is going to teach us everything. I'm like, your broker ain't going to teach you shit. Unfortunately, so if your broker knew this, they would have taught it.
There, like, and this game plan frame, like I said, the stats are in, and like the clients that we work with, like we actually interviewed one of our clients, Mike, and he's like, I was skeptical at first about using this script, but like he's like, I need to give, if I want to give this program a fair shake, I need to use the script the way it's written.
Yeah,
and he's using the script the way it's written, and he's closing multiple deals, and like he's done $36K in GCI off of like $2,000-3,000 in ad spend. That doesn't happen for everyone because like you need to follow the entire framework. And this is the whole reason why Vic and I chat consistently and we do these trainings weekly, is because there's an element of like half of the lead issues you have in your database are not lead issues, especially if you've already generated the lead and you're going back to a lot of these. A lot of them are communication and sales issues, and just like the inability to have a conversation and go deep with people, and then reduce the sales resistance so that you can book the in-person meeting. Because there's fundamental belief that I think you and I share. All conversion happens in conversation. Yep. And I hear agents say this to me this consistently. Vic, Cody, if I could just get in front of more people belly to belly, I would make more sales.
Yeah.
It's like,
you would. You would.
and amen. And this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And like, and
how do we get you in front of more people? You got to improve your skills.
100%. So belly to belly, the only way you get belly to belly with more people is you get better. That's you get better at talking. You get better at listening.
Where should people find you?
Just find me on Instagram, probably the easiest place to find me, or like we're going live in our mindset marketing group.
Right. What's your Instagram handle for the
at Codmay, CODMAY, and where's the best place they can reach you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. You guys can find me on Instagram as well. Instagram is going to be Coach Vikram Deol. I was looking at my calendar. I'm like, oh, we missed my role play. I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. Like, missed my role play with my role play group. Oh, just so you guys know, Cody and I both have role play groups, and they're not Dungeons and Dragons either. And if you guys want more,
that you know of.
I've lived with you for enough months that if you are hiding that, I am no longer your friend. So you can find me on Instagram, or if you want more sales tips and training for free, or if you have a call that you want reviewed, or if you have a question about your sales process, and you're not quite ready to jump into a program, you go to the Real Estate Sales Dojo on Instagram. If you need leads, right, and you need booked appointments, like actually Cody's company, they'll call your old leads, they'll generate leads, and they have salespeople that will call them. If you need help because you don't know what to say to the people, you don't know how to use verbal cues or pauses, and people just go on tangents, call me. Otherwise, have an amazing day, y'all.
And one last thing. I want to see this for the very, very first time. Me and Vikram are running a 5-day.
Oh yeah, we are.
Lead and sales conversion training. If you're listening back to the replay and you want more information on that, around that when we launch it, just comment the word challenge below, and we will get you information on how to get involved in that. 5 days of free coaching, free training.
You're so good at promotion, bro.
I try, bro. I
was like, what's the word going to be? I'm a manager. What's the word? Like challenge. Yes, that's a great word.
Yeah, exactly. Comment the word challenge below. I actually have a video coming out about this week where I was listening to a podcast Ron put out about like 5 things that you need to do daily in order to win. And one of them was make an offer. So there's the offer. DM us the word, comment the word below, challenge, or
just whatever is easier.
Whatever.
And if you guys are out there and you're doing well, put a tip of what you're doing well in the comments.
what's
Share with other agents.
And listen to the Our Agent podcast.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Vic, we'll see you soon.